So what's the Nukud the Rebbe says till now? That there is, the Nukud of Halachas is, Uftan and Veld, that the Veld should be Behesim to Ratzon Elim. The Rebbe speaks two pratim. One prat is in Chiyuvi, up to that tomorrow said that the world shouldn't, Yad L'Moshe. So the Ratzon Elim is that the Yad should be a Yad with together with the Nachas Tefillin. Shibud HaMe'ach Valef. So the Ratzon Elim is, in order for that, first you need in Chiyuvi. That to be pale, that the Yad should be, Beifin Chiyuvi Behesim to Ratzon Elim. You should be, you say, that the Chaymer should have the tzura of the way the Eibishter wants, the correct tzura, which is a Yad of Anachas Tefillin, a Me'ach should know that there's Yidiyas Hashem, but that's not enough. You also have to be Sheilo, the aspect of the Mitzvah is the fact that it's neutral, the fact that it's all to have a tzura which is not the Esim Teratzon Elim. The Mitzvah is K'meishum Tzadatzma, the Rebbe's Lashon, the Rebbe said before. To be Sheilo, the Metzias of the Nivra, Kamei Mitzadatzma. What's that Metzias Kamei Mitzadatzma? The Mitzad Etzim Geter HaMe'ach, in Yoni is not loved after Yad of Menachas Tefillin. It's not the Pshat that it's Geter is Hayad, which is Mamad Ratzon Elim. It's Geter is Yad. That, the Kudah that is Geter is Yad. Not that the whole Metzias of Yad is the way the Eibishter sees a Yad. For that, Chiyuv itself is not enough. It's Uftan that the Geter Hayad should be the way it is Al Pi Torah. What's the Geter Hayad Al Pi Torah? Yad of Menachas Tefillin. Mashikin a Yad, which is, that's Mufrich, a Yad. The whole mitzvah of the yad is for the kavana b'shvil yisol b'shvil atera. Al pi Torah, that's the gather of the yad. In order to be pale on a yad, which mitzad atzma is a neutral mitzvah, that kol inyan shidi ratzon elim, that from shelos that. Yeah, that's not the free. With them the Rebbe Meisiv, that's why the Rambam brings both nekudis of matzah and any matzah. Why is the fact that the Rambam brings the Eibishter is a matzah rishon, that the Eibishter is a mocker for mitzvahs, and ad kedekach an efen of rishon, that there's so to speak a certain yachas between Alakus and Ibrahim. That's we understand why that's important for halachas, because if legabi the Eibush the whole mitzvah elam is kolachshiv, so there's no shivas to the musik of halach. In order for the whole system, the whole gather of halach is uftan and veld, so it must be the mitzad the darga of halach and mitzad the Eibush that the world has a tisa smoking. Why isn't it get to know that Alakus mitzad atzmer is higher than gather mitzvahs? And then mitzad that darga ein davar achir yachol limatzis. Why is that negate to know that the Eibush mitzad atzmer is higher than gather mitzvahs? And then Zog der Rebbe, because since the Nukud of Halacha is Sheilo Zayin, the Metzias of Welt. The Metzias Kameshim said Atzma to be Sheilo, that in order to be Sheilo, and the fact that the world is created in a way that the gather of Yad is a hand, and the gather of Me'ach is Me'ach, and not a Me'ach which behesim to the Kavanah. Or not a Me'ach b'shvil the Shamash is came. The gather of a Me'ach which is a Metzias of a Me'ach. For that, the Chdei Tzudas Mevatas and that will onkommen to the Nukud of any Matzah. Because the fact that the world is created in a way that it's a mitzvah, not kol is the kavana, that's the way it is inside the gather of matzah. Inside the darga of matzah is the Eibush Kav in the madriga of mitzvahs, and there's a tfisa smokim tayad. You see, the Chassidus brings us sometimes the gabi say the Alter says in Tanya that in order the brings in a Maimer that the Gabi Memali, there's a Tfisa Smakim Tevelt. If there's a Tfisa Smakim Tevelt, so it's not Mufrich. You say Mitzad Shem Alekim, there's a Yinika to Kabi Nikas HaChasein. It means Mitzad Shem Alekim, there's a Tfisa Smakim to Mitzis, which is not Margish Bittul Talakus. Vizal understand that Hezber. In order to be Shedel Gamri, and the Rebbe brings it, the Rebbe says in Tanya that every Avera is a Prat in Layilacha, and every Mitzvah is a Prat in Anoichi. Was the pshat in this? There's the hekt in the beer in and after his word. The Alter speaks to the Nukud of after Hashem the way it is in Tzatzev Kolam, Kolek Mikolachshiv. Not the Vart Mitzad, because the Nivra is tall in the Varabai. First, the Hech of the Darga from Bittul. So there is a reminder that Mitzad Memali, the way Lukus becomes a Makar Lemtzias, so it's not in Ganzen Mufrich. There's somewhat there's a Tfisa Smokin to the Metzias of Welt as a Metzias of Shnatzma. Dafki Mitzad Sev Kolam, Mitzad that Darga, there's no Tfisa Smokin in the Metzias, and the whole gather is Midrash Nalim. So Adar they speak the Gabi mitzvahs. Mitzad the Darga of Matzi, the way the Eibush was mitzantzim himself, and he said Yehid Rakia. So Rakia is a mitzvah, not the Rakia. The whole mitzvah of Rakia is the Kavanah. There's a gather of Rakia. There's a chshivus of Rakia. There's Chachme. There's Chesed. There's Gvura. Not Kol Inyan of Chachme is the Eibusher's Chachme. There's a mitzvah. There's a tfisa smakim to the mitzvah of Chachme. So in order to be shelled and Nukud in Veld, that Kol Inyan is that the whole gather of Yad is not standard as a mitzvah of Yad. Inyan is a Yad of Anachas Tefillin. But that von onkommen zu any matzah. Because the guy is stuck in Welt. Inside that darga, it could be shelo. There could be mevatel mitzvahs in Welt. That's what the Rebbe says till now. in the Kurz in Yana, there says that word also, that is verschiedene Bejurim, or the Meise with the Gesia Lepler, that he said that nicht mit Perish Yon. So there says also the same Nikuda. Dafke mitzad Yichida, there's no tfisa smakim klal to a metzias of life outside of Elikus. Mashiach said lower dargis, all dargis never shall Elikus. It's not mushla legamri a metzias of chayim without a chayim shal kedusha, without a chayim shal terim mitzvahs. Mr. Gedenk with that state. You know what I'm talking about? But the nekuda is, I'll let the Rebbe sing over here also. There is a darga in Elikus which is like this darga. There's a tfisa smakim to a metzias of welt, not a welt which is mitzad kavan. A metzias from welt. This aspect in the world that it's kaviyachol a metzias. There's no such a thing called yad. There is a yad, but calling yan of yad is ratzonality. And there are different arguments saying matzah. Yeah, that's what the Rebbe is saying. Yeah, then could they verstandig?
Because it was mamzi. Because mitzad matzah it was mamzi.
Verstandig. It's factual. Mitzad that there is with legabi lukus. There's just tfisas makim to metzias. You say the way the Eibush has mislabish kaviyachol and eses for this. So the air is mislabish and chachme. So chachme is a zach. It's not so posh that they say chachme is a zach. But I'm saying the dakus. Kennst du nicht sagen that chachme is garnished? However way you're going to say it, but I'll tell you what the Rebbe is saying. So the darga of matzah, so there is a tfisa smagim to the metzias of rakia. The rekud of halachas is that rakia outside of the Eibish's ratzin in nishtat. The whole gather of rakia is a chetimtz in order to keep Shabbos. I'm saying, mash'egim is the darga of matzah. There's some tfisa smagim. The Eibish is mitzamsim himself. And it's at that darga, it's not mufrich but tachlis a metzias of a nivra, which is shleibish lo kavan. So this you have many fan of this thing. Since as you purchase verstehen, there's a darga in the lukus, which the guy with this darga, there's a tfisa smagim to metzias. Aber the pel zakon as a zak. Yeah, that's not. Don't get it. It's an important thing, but Lamer Freer Zen the Hemshach and Rachman against the some pratim which you're liking before. Oh, the Rebbe figures out Mitzvah Shabbat. Hadayin Tzarech Lahav in Kivan Shkom Metzias Eilam Him Abchina de Matzerish. Von wann stammt die Metzias? Von wel stammt von the fact that David sich mit Samson gewähnt to be in the tzir of Matzah. Mitzad the fact that he's a Mamzi is not Tzikol Nimtza. Mitzad any Matzah is a heck of everything on Metzias. The Rebbe said before. Legabe any Matzah ain't davar acher echel Matzah. He's mushit for Metzias. So legabe, so how can he eich shayach lemer sheyeh b'shinu pu'ula haine mashalach pels be'pula shlidus mit tchina dene Matzah. It's like, what do we want? We want the Silvern Eis Welt. You say, let's say, we use a pashto dugma. There's a pit teva, each nivra has a certain chukim, how it functions. We can say that hafach yom le'abash, kriyas amsuf. The Arab League which is not mugbal nigdarim of teva, as well as God. What happens when the Arab League is God? So wherever, so that in becomes this battle. It's not that the nivra is going to be reconstructed according to the gather of Nes. Veteran is battle endigt. You say b'shas kriyas yamsuf, the teva of mayim lamit kechayma was eradicated. We weren't mischasha with it. It's not the pshat that in Kalach is the code of Eri Matzis, so we're going to cancel a part of the nivra. The vart is to educate the nivra in a way that his home mitzvah should become. We want to be pearl and beifim primi. Well, the pearls are nothing. It says eich shayach sheyeh b'shinu pu'ula. We will doch uftan in him that the nivra should be affected. We should impact him to such an extent that this whole mitzvah of the yad should be b'shvil amadis ratznelim. Not to stand be mevatel in yonam in the hand. Das nicht shinui pu'ula. Immer will glatt, dass mevatel sein Sachen. So ich weiß, ich bin es gale in Matzah, the Welt wird eis mitzvah. We're not to cancel things. We're talking about to educate the mitzias or to be poil on the mitzias that should be in a certain matziv that heipach letzn elin should be mufrach. How could you be poil on it inside the darga which the guy by that darga doesn't exist b'chlal? So the guy by that darga ver tereis. Inside any matzah he doesn't exist b'chlal.
Shalom, there's mania that can be poil because it doesn't relate at all.
Okay, right. That's the Rebbe is saying eich shayach leimar, not sheyeh b'shinu pu'ula. The emes is can't touch that zedivos. In this lashon you can maybe touch that the word is that any matzah and the governess. Let's say that's the same shadow. The Arab League. How could that be poil involved? How could it be nisim involved? The poil vart says it. So we have a problem to say that any matzah cannot affect the world. Skenish is galavan. Saying Skenish is galavan. But yamot so it'll be battle. It won't exist. The shaila is, but then you're not gonna impact the mitzias. We said any matzah doesn't exist b'chlal. Here we're saying there's a yad, but instead of the yad being a mitzias, which a mitzias b'fnei atzmi, which is a tfisa smoking. outside of Elikos, the yad should be, say, transformed in such a way that sublime the hand. But the whole gather of the hand is lo niyat tefillin. And the hand came to a matzah, which in Yonam which are not tefillin, is mushlo from it. Now, what this means, we'll see later what it means. We're saying that the nivra should be affected in a way that certain inyanim should be nishla. We're not saying stam as a zolvar machem eis. Machem eis can sein an es. You're not going to. I'm saying the pashas at the bottom. You're not affecting the thing. You're not being poiled by dover shabayla. Stam as it. When the anes happens, you were poiled now in the mayim that they should be a pesach. Nothing. You don't poil anything. Mitzad ligvul. There's no rules. So rules are cancelled. You didn't change the rules. Here we're saying that mitzad there's b'koyach halacha. It's just in koyach and the halacha to transform the mitzvahs, that it should be affected, not only affected beifin shall pull in a sefes, affected in a way that his whole Indian is going to become halachas. This is an important point. This Gosha that it's in this Kama Pratim here. Some of the Pratim are more, some Pratim brought out more sharf and different halakim in the Hadran. Punkt this nekoda that Gosha is not like Adarach Nes, that the Shas, the Nes is Gala, so the rules of Tev are cancelled. The word is to be poiled on the Nivra, that it's called in Yoni should be the Ratzon Ali, and the Rebbe's Madgish is very strong in the third Chelik of the Hadran. When the Rebbe speaks about the loss of Lovi, Shatayoti Mishpas Harbi, that it's not stam that any Motzi comes as Mavatal the Mitzvahs. It's that the Pulach Yuva shouldn't just be in a Eifin of Davar Neisov, but that should become the whole Mitzvahs anyway. The Nivra comes to a state where Yonam Charnat Ratzon Ali is Nishla. Mispeil Afem. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, but that doesn't get the But the Shad is Meila, wie kann man das Peil sein through the Indian of any Motzi? So da geht dann der Result as a word. You have to pay well attention to this word. So that's it. Nun zu behekten Mashkos weil Rambam Stammes the Rebbe explained till now all the halachas, yeah, halach Aleph Beis Gimel. Also halach Gimel the Rebbe explained. Kol Amayla Bati Shesh Lekach V'Chizah. Halach Dalet. Was sagt der Rambam halach Dalet? Hu Shatei Meres Ein Ed Movadim. Achar the Rambam brings that Kol and what's the relation in the beginning of the halacha? To listen because you have the
Who shall not be image?
no, that's how the halacha starts.
Yeah.
Oh, so the first, right now, halacha brings what we learned till last in the order. Who shall not be image? Basically, what's the nukot that it brings before? The pashtus comes to that we said a second ago that kulam tzrichim leibhuan yitzarach leichem. Who shall not be image? The Rebbe is going to attach the concept to all the halachas before. We're going to see. Husha Navi Emer that was Dr. Navi Eined Mulvadi. Husha Tel Emer is Eined Mulvadi. Kalemar says Kalemar Ein Shamatzi Emes Mulvadi Kamesu. What's the matter with the Kalemar? That means that Rabbi Pashtus weiß doch es anders. Eva Rabbi Pashtus that's the first of Shad. Davon ich sagen the Kalemar. So the Mashma says that in Pashtus kommt es anders. That it touches up. Losh na because of Eined Mulvadi Meir. Asher leid actually in the Kamel Vadi Kim Shein Shamatzi Mulvadi. So nicht da kein schon sagt Eined Mulvadi. Choratumu ich shaykh Kalemar Shein Shamatzi. Heinrich kommt sich selber mit dem, weil die Mikromodik die Berakas wir soll Barrel kommt schreiben so als we thought only the Chassidus this Taisha in the Vadi means nicht in anderen Mitzis da treffen Teine in Lechatchilim Beshechel Mona Taisha Lapi Pashtus that ein the Lekim so treffen asked ich sah la Dait Choshesh Lekim nicht bei mein they're saying that in the Rambam that's the Pashtus Lashon Apostle that ein the Vadi means there's no other Mitzis not only there's no other Rebishter it's a Sikha yeah the Rebbe touches the Rashi and the Rambam. But this is Dr. Rebbe that according to the Rambam, the pashas the kapshat of the pasuk is struck in under mitzvahs. Mila vertakashe ich shaykh lem shein shom motzi. Han shkom mitzvahs sedem raktim. Han mikro mod dibra kaza beis rol kumish ma'am sordes. Das means that was steht a pasuk in chumish. Ve'ed im mitzvahs sedem raktim so es noch shivas in the mitzvahs. Shaila. Dem sagt der metadet the kolema shapirish in levade hulay shein shom motzi klan levade. After there's done nothing else like this. Ki im shein shom motzi emes levade. Heinish, Elam Mitzis, V'lei Dimin Ela Shein Mitzis Amitis. Means to say Eid Mavadi that there's no other Eibush there. That's the Hebech Hapshat. Ein Eid Mavadi Hey, it's Nishtoi Nachazach. Ein Eid Mavadi. There is nothing else outside of it. The Rambam is saying, Legabi, if this, but the Mashiach, according to the Rambam's Biur, the only Mitzis Amitis is the Eibush there. The Vod is Faram, but it's not a true Mitzis. So a true Mitzis, Legabi Emes Mitzis, a Mitzis built to Amitis, is not at the same caliber. You say there's no other existence outside of it. There's another existence. Legabi emes mitzis, it is kinzach nicht. If you say that there's something else but it's not a God, he's the only God, so what's just ein oid? Zog in the lekav, it says ein oid. Shtak in nachazah. You're saying legabi amitzias amitzias she'ein amitzias is bechlal not is doesn't have a meaning. So there's nothing else outside of it. Yeah. Well, that's the Rambam stage. So this is it's interesting as that because in Chassidus fragt the kasha, right? Chassidus has a shayla mufurish. But every touches it as in the Rambam. Chassidus has the shayla that it says Shema Yisrael Shem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and it says any violation nisi. So l'chora, what's the pshat? L'chora is the chdam mitzias from Avel. And one of these the Eibush is only mitzias, and the violation nisi at the kadosh nivra elam, at the lachar nivra elam, that there's no mitzias elamis. And the same way the Eibush was before his havos, the same way the Eibush is lachar his havos. So Ebazeh, what's the pshat? But l'chora is the chdam. So what's one of the first answers that Rebbe Rashab brings in Umnam is this teretz that what's the pshat in avaya leken avaya echad, that the only true mitzvah is a lukus. Either the velt is a mitzvah, not a dimin. It's a mitzvah that's not a mitzvah, amitis. And they bring the Rambam. The Rebbe Rashab brings the Rambam also. That the Rambam is touching bavade that she'ein sham motzi emes mavade kemes. Is this touching chassidus that vizme metavach kaviyovel. On one hand we say that there's no shini no lukus mitzad esavos. That means that the world is not a mitzvah. And either we're saying that the world does exist, it's not a demon. The Torah says it's a mitzvah, it's not a mitzvah, it's a mitzvah. But the shaila is so that there bis der shura steht bems. But the Rebbe touches the Ram. That steht in Chassidus before. The shaila, I think in the Mechamech Chavtasi also brings it, no? This touch in the Ram. Matziyamis. But the shaila is what's the pshat that the nivra is a davar bilti amiti. That the Rebbe gives a different beer here for state nishdar. What does it mean that it's not a davar amiti? The university was pshat that it's not emes. It's a emes. So what does Rebbe first bring about beer bazeh? So then we could take chassidus eichet. The pshat we'll have to see first the ivrit, then we'll see the avana. But in it the emes is davar bilti nifsa. We say the musik of emes and sheka that it's a lie that it exists, avada that never exists. The question is, a davar amiti means that this mitzvah is the way it is. It's always like that. Something that's on and off is that's the pshat that is davar bilti emes. It's taka on, but it's on doesn't have a truth. We'll see what's the husband, just to go for the bar. In the emes is a davar bilti nifsak. Mashegen azach was hatten sich a hefsik. So gam beis kiyumi wird angerufen from kozov, not sheker but kozov. Hepech emes. What's the halacha? The halacha the ma'im apiskim. I'm saying we'll see that avana later. We're saying the pashas advarim. You have a light. You have a light that's the battery is almost off and it's on and off all the time. So is this a light that works? A light that works means that you can see it shines. It's not that it's on and off the entire time. So there's you have a mitzias. There's a mitzias which it's davar sheyesh lehefsik. It's nicht davar. Das geht sich voran. He's here and he's not here. It's a on and off mitzias. We'll see the husband. I'm just saying the gufat var. Davar sheyesh lehefsik gam beis kiyum nikar b'shem kozov. Hepech emes. They're called Ma'amah Mechazim. This Nahar is a Nahar that's Mechaziv. It's nicht kein emes Nahar. Means by Mitzvah you say, is there a river here? It depends when. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. And every couple of a small little tkufa vertus eis. So that's called that exists. Back in the pearl, there's water, and there's a river that flows in Mizman Lizman. Sishkin davar amiti. Say in Pashtus, there's a shtickle kigmaim elu gam beis kiyum enim mechaim elu mechazim. So there, the Pashtus says, what's the pshat that it's you say, if this place is bamitis in a river, so why in 2 years, whatever it is, Bertus says, the Torah says be'etzem there's no river because of inyan chitzenim, because of tnaim, because of the weather, because of this, because of that. Therefore, there's a river. So is this makim be'emes anar? This makim is not be'emes anar. Be'emes this makim is a makim yavish because of chitzenim is the tnaim. Whatever, therefore there's a river. That's called a davar bilti amiti. So the Yavim is that the fact that it exists, yesh behefsik. So the mitzias, which was sarhat, is nishkin davar amiti. But then the hezbollah about the same legabi mitzias. But that's that means if the true definition of this thing is kach v'kach, then it would always be there. The fact that it's on and off, that's a raya that even the mitzias that it has is not it's nishkin nimtza be'emes. So the Nyan we'll see how the Rebbe is masber, but that's the. So what's man darf wissen is that the pshat emes is that if the azach hat in sich a tchuna. That this tchuna is always there, that's called that it's, or that this mitzias is always kach v'kach, then the fact that it is this way is emes. Something that's constantly, this is connected to that tchuna. That means that the fact that it's connected to that tchuna is a davar amiti. If it's on and off, that means even when it does have it, its connection to that in it is not emes. So the nivra's mitzias has a hefsek. So the Asmama says ayin, it exists nicht. So even when he exists, it's not, his existence is not a true existence. It's not a lie. Lepayel it's kain, but it's not a true existence. We'll see. Why is it not true? The way we know till now is because it has a hefsek. Samol ya namal nicht. Mvidim adavar hazeh. Da verstehen, was it has, what's the chisarn in the fact that it's not emes. But I'm saying, what's the pshat, dover amiti, dover built amiti is, if there's a hefsek and there's zach, so the even when it's there, it's not a dover amiti. So the way we understand the pashto musik of emes and sheker is are you lying or not lying? It's there, the water is flowing, but it's not the amitis amtzias of a nor. And al der's when you get to mitzias, it's not a true mitzias. It's an external mitzias. It's a shvach mitzias. We'll see later. I'm saying I was using before the mashal of the on and off candle just to bring out that you could have, it's a candle there, but it has no firmity. If it has no firmity, so mechanics is just not licht. Amol ya amol nicht. There's no teichtet. So there, as I say, it wasn't lapel that's here right now. Certain things, if it's on and off, first of all, I say, is this thing is it a candle or not a candle? So arbet is arbet nicht. It's arbet. Every 2 seconds it's off. That's not called as arbet.
This part is not more abstract than.
It is. I'm just saying the guf advar. See, even before the havana of a davar built amiti, saying what the first thing is, it's mitzias it's shvach. Saying before grace alongus in pashas advar, if something is on and off, so even when it's on, it's an external being. As not kifis. There's a beer. I'm just saying the.
For a beer, say passion, say that's something that's MS.
Constant.
It's constant. Something that will eventually stop. Is saying what is on and off.
Eventually stop. Then what? What's art? Remember, right now he's here.
Saying there's what's on and off. Is
What's get the soup? There's a shvach mitzias. Okay.
you say more. You say not. When you say on and off, you say it's a shvach and it's not just saying
There's no value.
there's no firmness. You're saying there's no.
Say, well, was verdient man, was art mir that the thing is going to stop one day. Was verdient, was art mir.
Saying that's the Havana we always
Yeah.
say about Yovel. That's not the.
What's the pshat that it's mine that it's not a mechazer? It's not in truth or not. Okay, mitzvah. So till now, there's been steht dort that the mitzvah sa'elam is not emes because emes is pshat a zach which is constant. Mashiach zach was sich a hefsek is not emes. The shaila is, why is the world not emes? That's the shaila. That's in them it's farnachilik the Rebbe's masbirit here to the Rebbe's to way the Rebbe Shabbos masbirit in Omno, and that makes a big difference. Why is the world not emes? So this you have to remember one thing. Just avad if the Eibishter wants, he can make the world eis mitzias. He created the world, he can make it eis mitzias. But that's not going to make it a davar bilti amiti. Davar bilti amiti is something that its existence is as a nature of existence that has an end, that has a stop. Not that its existence that its nature would exist forever. Zachakol, a keach chitzeni could come and can make it ois. A keach chitzeni come and to make it ois doesn't mean that this thing can make it ois. But that's not, then the agdor of this thing is not a davar bilti amiti. You have you say a nar, the Rebbe's mashal, you have a nar, which, but this nar lasts for Iber Zibin Yar. But people went and were stumped the nar and they filled it up with water. They were seisim saberis, the plishtim and yitzvah. You're going to say that the nar is a davar bilti amiti because someone's the pale mamishu was covered. The shaila is, what's the nature of this nar? Is this nar a emes nar, or they're not nishkin emes nar? So what's the nature of this thing? So something which lasts is a davar amiti. Something which doesn't last is a davar bilti amiti. Last and not lasting is not if someone's going to come and cancel it. Someone's going to come and cancel it, that means that it's not something which lasts. So zum Beispiel in der Welt ist, ich will doch sagen, was steht in der Welt, because there's an under certain Metzies. The Rebbe says there's a certain Metzies which lasts forever, which is davar amiti, which is the built-in nifsak. Mashiach the Metzies hanivra is a davar nifsak. So the fact that it's a different nature of being. The fact that someone could come cancel it, that doesn't mean that it's a different nature of being. It's emes that the Eibusher can machen the Nivra is, but that's not going to be a beer for Einad Levade. We will doch sagen that there's a Metzias which is a nature of being that's a Davar Amiti, and there's a nature of being that's not a Davar Amiti. And what's that God of emes? Not that it was created. You heard the Rebbe Gezdol got the word. What's the pshat that the Nivra is not emes? That it was created. Nicht das Rette, Rebbe das Rebbe sagt. Chassidus Rette is not that since it was created. Since it was created, that's also a certain musig of any emes. That's not nicht the Nekudah of Sretzach Bar. The Nekudah that the fact that it's emes is you're saying you exist. Your true Adar is not that you exist. In 5 days, the stualin very nice. You don't last. See, the fact that you are now here, that's not the true definition of what you are. It's a technical, transient thing. It's not inherent in you that you exist. Tomorrow is the very nice. Something that the fact that he exists, even though the fact that he exists with the Eibusher made, but the pile that's his inherent state and existed, Elamai the Eibusher can make it is that doesn't make it a dover that it's a mitzvah shein amitis. You understand what I'm saying? There is a beer. You could say that's a different beer. That the very fact that the world is created, and then that's in the code of Hepech Emes, or that's a mitzvah built amitis, and that's the emes of that word. But that's not what the Rebbe is speaking over here. That's not what Chassidus speaks about. When Chassidus says the whole arich is the Galaber and Sherish, all the Protamis, he speaks in a umnum and the Mamon the Rebbe brings there. The Rebbe is that it's a different Gedra Mitzvahs. And this word makes it much more posh. You say the Eibusher's Mitzvahs is a Mitzvahs Amitis. He exists. Shaken and you're going to say he really exists. If he exists, why say water exists? So why water in 2 days with Vernois, without anybody canceling it with Vernois? That's a symbol that the fact that he exists is not true in him. It's not inherent in him. It's a tzir chitzoni that he has, however you can explain it. The fact that it exists is a shvacha existence. Masha'inkein, the fact that it can be put out by a keich elyon, that's not the pshat that this dover is a dover shesh lehefsek. So the shaila is what's that the pshat? And then the pashtas, that's what needs a beer. The Rebbe gives a different beer of a state in Omna. But the shaila is the world is a thing which exists. The world doesn't contain within itself the me'ela verteres. The world exists. Afi pashas adar. So what's the pshat that is dover built to amiti? So Chassidus gives the whole beer that if will be nisgale the sherish. Yeah, you know this, yeah? If will be nisgale, they say the man stammt mayim comes from ich weiß the sherish is for or the ari lamata comes from tarnagel. Halerich is the free to grab the mamre in tiku that there's a tarnagel and the sherish a tarnagel. If will be nisgale lamata the sherish a nivra, but the nivra very nice mitzvahs. So you don't just say that the Eibusher wants you can make it is. What gives you your mitzvahs? The fact that you have a mocker. Sfiras achesed, that's the mocker of mine. Without pnei sher sheb'merkava, there's no mitzvahs of Hashem. V'vanat nem to share zayin mitzvahs. Where does he derive his mitzvahs from? From pnei sher sheb'merkava. If it would be nizgala, from where he gets his mitzvahs from, a tever neis. So what's far? So how does he exist? Because the truth of what he is concealed. Because the mocker mitzad is pashas hamocker about to give our neis. The fact that it never exists is because the mocker is hiding itself. That means it's the natural state of something, the fact that it's hiding itself. Let's say it this way. So what's more natural to something? It's a spashtus or the fact that it's hiding itself? It's almost. So the whole mitzvah stands from them that the truth of what it is hidden. So what's the nivra b'amitis in what's the amitis agdor of the nivra? Not mitzvahs, ayin. From wann stammt sein mitzvahs from sfiras hachesed? Mitzad is spashtus of chesed, the beis mitzvahs. Only mitzad is amos of chesed. What's truer in chesed, so to speak? What's the true agdor of chesed? It's his amos or it's his pashtus? Avada de is pashtus, not his amos. The amos is heipich in yoni b'tekev. So the mitzvahs is only here only because the emes, because the amitis in yonim is not bizgalis. That means there's some mitzvahs built amitis. It's a very stark word. It means if what is galis were their emes from their mayim, then he wouldn't exist. The fact that he exists is because the sherish is bis amos. It's a tnu of wurde kennt sich behalten. So that whole mitzvahs is the chisenistic mitzvahs. That's the word to state, but the Rebbe gives a different beer. The Ram doesn't say, someone learning Rambam, the Ram doesn't mention a word that also been isgala the sherish of the niver, the niver very nice. Verkehrt, the Ram is made that the niver debish is motzirishin, yesh yachas v'dimin kaviyach. I mean, he says later v'miti damiri v'eshver. But the problem the Ram doesn't bring here to the halachas till now, that if will be isgala in elumis, the sherish of his makar amitzi is very nice. And he doesn't say this beer. So why, according to why the fee, what the information that the Rambam gave us, till Lachadal? Where do you see that the nivra is a davar sheyesh lehefsek? Kennst du sagen, der Bier besteht in Homenum? Homenum, he says it to explain the Rambam, but the Pell the Rambam sagt nicht, that beer. So the Rambam gives a whole different beer, which changes the whole thing. Well, there's the Gelim sees the Kol Sa'ilim. This is an important point. This point. Kivan Shkolam says like the Rebbe. Kivan Shkolam says Elam Rak Mitzad Zeshu is Bar Chishbul. That's Michinas Motzei Rishon. Aber Mitzad Das Mutzi is Bar. Mitzad the Pchin of Eni Motzei. She betalk for Gamata Eli she behelm Kanal. Ein Davar Acher Yachol Yimatzis. Let's give the rags. Chem Mitzi Uzi Shelo Elam Gamash. Yes, Kima Eni Mitzis. What's the Rebbe saying here? That Mitzad Eni Motzei the never existed. And the Eni Motzei. So how are you going to say the Eni Motzei? But the Mitzis stammt doch nicht von the Eni Motzei. So what are you telling me? So the Rebbe sagt nicht das. This is what the Rebbe asked. She betalk for Gamata Eli she behelm. Doesn't mean the talk for Gamata in Zman and Pshutei that the Darga of Eni Motzei didn't cease to exist. Talk for Gamata means that it's this. The Motzei is not a davar nifus from the Eni Motzei. It's the Eni Motzei is also a Motzei. Their Motzei behelm is an Eni Motzei. You know the canal. Canal is that the Yachadim said that he's Motzei, he's Eni Motzei, the Mashal with the Chacham God. So if the Eni Motzei was one darg and the Motzei is a separate darg and the Nivra stems from the Motzei, then there would be a Mitzvah Samitis. The Eivishter wants, he could use his Eni Motzei to cancel it. Das meint nicht, that the Mitzvah verstand von der Motzei is not a Davar Amiti. Das sagt Rebbe zweite Bar. Since we said Eni Motzei the Nivra existed nicht, and the Eni Motzei is behelim in the Motzei, it means the Motzei b'pnimiyusei is Eni Motzei. So lechem tzir shel elam gam achshav Eni Mitzvah Samitis. This is the from word. What we're saying is like this. From wann stammt in Pasha says one. From wann stammt the Mitzvah Hanivra that comes from the Darga of Motzei. But we're saying, what is this Motzei? What's the if the Motzei was if it was two Dargas in the Holocaust, the Motzei is Motzei, the Eni Motzei is Eni Motzei. Das is that Eni Motzei developed in the Mitzvah. It wouldn't. It's not maintenance nicht that developed that the Nivra is not Mitzvah Samitis. Here we're saying that the Motzei is not just Motzei. It's an Eni Motzei was Echad Motzei. It's an understood Zach. So there's what's the Mitzvah? From wann stammt the Mitzvah from Welt? The Mitzvah Welt stammt from Motzei. What is Motzei? The Motzei, the Darga Motzei is not just the Eibush of kommt in a Mitzvah. That the Eni Motzei could also be a Mitzvah. So what's the Gedra Eilam? A Zach which is Be'etzem is not, and Alpha became it is. You heard the meaning? Different touch. That is Eni Motzei. That is the Pshat Davar. We'll see. This is nicht geposht the touch. Es ist wenn nimmt so Hagam shemitzvot shel Elam hu mebchin the Motzei Rishon. Shehu daf gemam tzikol nimmt so mikom kem yesh begam tchuna haba mebchin the Eni Motzei. Hu ma shemitzvot ein amitis. I always say this that according to the beer in Umnam, the vart is the fact that the nivra is not a mitzvah amitis is not a tchuna in the nivra. It's not a tchuna. You say something only lasts for 10 days. You say it's a tchuna chiyuvis. It's not a tchuna chiyuvis. The chatchilas mitzvahs is a weak mitzvah. It could only last 10 days. But if the whole makar mitzvah stamms from this almos hamakar, so the mitzvah is a very shvacha mitzvah, a very chitzenistic mitzvah. Here the Rebbe is not saying that since the Eni Motzei, the Rebbe is not saying that the fact that this havos is mitzad the tunu of his almos, razavor. That's not what the Rebbe is saying here. That's not the nikudah. That the reason why it's Eni Motzei is that the reason why it's not mitzvah amitis because the whole mitzvah is only neveh mitzad the fact that his makar is b'is almos. And this does the beer. If that would be the beer, so the pshat is that the chatchil is mitzvah, the shvacha mitzvah. The Rebbe is not that zweite. The Rebbe is saying over here is that the Rebbe says the lashon sheyesh begam tchuna haba mebchin the Eni Motzei. The fact that the nivra mitzvah ein amitis is a trait that the nivra has. The Rebbe is saying a different word. The Rebbe is saying is, what are we saying? The nivra, you say the nivra receives his existence from Motzei. So whatever the Motzei is, that's going to be reflected in the nivra. Vasi der Motzei. The Motzei is that the Eibusher is not mugbal to be dafka in any Motzei. If he wants, he's also a Motzei. He's not lechatchila a Motzei. The Eibusher is not mugbal that he's a makar ha-mitzvahs. Mitzadat he's a heker from mitzvahs. Either Sazam is a heker from mitzvahs that he's mugbal that he has to be only a heker from mitzvahs. If Eiliber Tzoni to be an Eifin of mitzvahs, either any Motzei echat ha-Motzei. So the nivra doesn't come. So what's nirgash in the darg of Motzei? What's nirgash in the emes in Holocaust? Not that the Eibush is a makar mitzvahs. That because the Eibush is not mukbal to be dafkin etzir of any matzah, Eber vil is reichet matzah. So this matzah is also any matzah is also a matzah. So was for a nivra vert? So vert a nivra not that kol inyani is to be. Vert a nivra which mitzad echad the Eibush he exists. Mitzad sheni is fan a tchuna in them which cancels the fact that he exists. Both of these inyanim come together. Al derech like a matzah in any matzah. The matzah in any matzah are biyachad. Al derech zeh was for a certain nivra vert. As hatten sich zwei besonder. He has two tchunas which come together. Was for a samitzias which contains within himself negating the fact that it exists. Not a shvach mitzias. On one hand, a mitzias which a tchuna to be shelo himself, to negate the fact that he exists. You understand the verse? A different verse. Huh? No, before the pull, I'm just saying the touch of any matzah, of any mitzvah samit. It's a different touch. Usually, touch any mitzvah samit is that its being is very weak. Here, the Rebbe is not saying the being is very weak. He's saying Sazart is not. He exists. What type of nature of existence is it? He says something. Sazart fire. That it's not a fire. It's a fire with that the fire himself brings within itself a kayach to extinguish itself. As that certain mitzvah is this. Understand what I'm saying? Say not that it's a weak fire, but mainly when it exists and then it becomes slowly becomes ice. Or you say it's fire, but the kechitzeni is mavatlut. What if you have lechatchila was fara mitzvahs is the sazam certain mitzvahs, which lechatchila the built mitzvahs and the mitzvahs come together. He exists. It's a certain existence which contains within himself the aspect to be shale his mitzvahs. I'm saying the Rebbe touches over here. What's the pshat? It means agam shemitzit shleim hu me'abchina damatzirishn shu daf to mamtzi kol nimtza mikom ken yesh begam tchuna haba me'abchina deine matzir hu ma shemitziyus ein amitis. One second. Read the Rebbe says v'haimer inen hamitziyus sheba elam ba me'abchina damatzirish ve'inen the shlilas mitziyus means that be'etzim it doesn't exist. Ba me'abchina deine matzir. What's pshat mitziyus ein amitis? Means is da. Aber sazasar da, which yesh behefse, which he himself has a power that negates himself.
Why does that have a different effect?
I think it's usually we know of a Metzias that he exists, or his existence comes with a power to break his existence, to eradicate the fact that he exists. As that's what Metzias is.
Why by the beer?
It's a different beer.
Saying why doesn't it work?
He doesn't say that the aspect of the market. That's not the.
He doesn't say it. I'm
saying there because there's different vart. There the vart is. The mitzad is gal some makri wouldn't exist. From wann stammt only from the makar being beisamas. He says he only the chesed, which is the makar of mayim, chesed the gal yivotish gewen. Chesed beisamas. So what does the nivra have? He doesn't have his makar. He doesn't have his makar k'meishu b'tiviyusik. He has his makar the way his makar is not natural. That's a very shvach mitzvah. Here, but here we're that's not. But the word is not behelim. The Rebbe's word is not. That since the homitzvah is never stammed from motzi, and if the any motzi bin is gal level, the very nice. Nish does the word. Then the Rebbe should stand. Then you don't need a whole beer. Then you can say very pashut. Then even though then you don't say you have to say beer. We say the Eivisher wants. He can make the mitzvahs. Ace mitzvahs. What does the Rebbe mean that the Eivisher is also in any motzi somewhere? The Afish Onkel Mitzvah and beer. The Eivisher wants. He make the ace mitzvahs. That's not what the Rebbe is saying. Something else. She betok fagam ata. According to the vart you're saying that it's not a tchun in the nivra. If the vart is that we said any matzah, if the Eibishter wants, he can make it ois. So it's not the pshat that it's a tchun in the mitzvah nivra. The fact that it's not emes. Shlilas mitzvah. It's not a tchun in the nivra. The Eibishter mitzvah that's if he wants, the nivra doesn't have to exist. The Rebbe is saying over here a different word. The Rebbe is saying over here is that mitzad that that the matzah is the matzah behelim is also any matzah. No, that the Rebbe adds in the Segraims. That same way the Metzias Shabbat is begili today. Today, what's seen openly is the fact, the aspect of Motzi, of Metzias that comes from the market. The aspect that the Nivra contains within himself, the Keach HaShelo, the Rebbe says, it's not, the Nivra today contains within himself a aspect of negating itself. What I'm saying is every Metzias is not just a Metzias. You say, as I was saying before, the mashal of a candle that's a shvacha battery. You're saying a dugma. You say, does this battery work? This is the way it works. It's on and off. This is the way it functions. It's not enough. We're saying this is the way the Metzias works. There's a Metzias and Shlilas Metzias. Not that it's something which has a limit or something that works weak. It reflects its makir, or it gets its Metzias from its makir. The same way the makir is an Eini Matzi, which is also a Matzi. Adar is the Nivra. The Nivra is, its Metzias originates from the fact that, in other words, how is it Mitzad Lukus? Be'etzem Mitzad HaMitzvah Inyan, Be'etzem Mitzad HaEibishter, Ein Davar Achar Yochel Limatzis. All the Bertzen is Echta Avelt. He's not moved to be dafken a tzir of Ein Davar Achar Yochel Limatzis. Is Eber Vil, is Fan Avelt. So how is that reflected in the Nivra? That Be'etzem, the Nivra doesn't, it's, I don't have no right to exist. Lepel Mamash, I exist. But he doesn't only have kiyum. He has be'etzem. He doesn't have a right to exist. He negates himself. L'poel mamish he exists. But both of these tchunas exist in the nivra.
Why can you say that there is no the same beer as Umnum, just adding that because?
Yeah, but it's a different beer because in Umnum the Rebbe Shabbos is saying in Umnum that we're saying a different word. They were saying that not that the nivra is affected by the makir. You're saying fakert. We're saying that the nivra only comes from the makir kvishu of amos. Not that the nivra is affected by this galus hamakir.
Fine, but the fact
Here's
that
the different part.
I'm saying the fact that we're saying Mitzusi Eni Amitis, the reason why it's Mitzusi Eni Amitis is the same as what as Umnum.
No, it's not because there I tell you.
By default, he's not the way he is. By default, he's
The Rebbe here the word
he's
is there the word the shaila is the mitzias shvach, or not that the mitzias is shvach, but the mitzias also contains shlilas mitzias. How does the mitzias also contain shlilas mitzias? Because he's affected, because part of the ingredients of the mitzias is also the darg of any mitzias.
But how do you see that in him that he has that? What about him is Eni Matzi?
Where do you see in the nivra that he has shlilas mitzias? That's not what the Rebbe is discussing. Where do you see it in the nivra?
The Rebbe said that was the paragraph before. What Darren said. They were discussed what
You're saying-
what's Mitzusi Eni.
No, it doesn't say where you see in the nivra that there's an aspect of shlilas. We'll see later.
The fact that Mitzusi Eni Amitis, that's the Eni Matzi in him.
Verstehe, but what's the beer that is not emes? What's the beer in that?
That Rebbe said in this paragraph. The fact
So I'm
that
saying
he
the
has
beer,
caused-
but the Rebbe says here is different than the beer that he gives in Umnum. The beer that he gives in Umnum is that there's the spashus hamakar doesn't affect the nivra tak. The makar kfi shu b'teikfe doesn't affect the nivra. Fakert mitzad the makar kfi shu b'teikfe the nivra would become ice, and therefore so why is it so the pearl the nivra comes from this amos hamakar. The teretz is but this amos hamakar that's not the matzav ativi of the makar. So the fact that the nivra exists is a very external existence. See, but at there's no river over here. Only because it rained, there's a river. It means, and it usually doesn't rain. So it's a very, it's fact that it exists is very, it's held on very, very, very shvachi. You say this. Here the Rebbe is saying something else. Not the nivra is very good. You say this. The Eibush is like mitzamtzing event to be b'pchinas matzah, and matzah is a true thing. And the word over here is not that if matzah bin is gal will become mais. Mitzad matzah exists. Mitzad any matzah doesn't exist. But what does any matzah have to do with the matzah? The Teretz says the matzah b'pnimi yusei is any matzah. So therefore the mitzias, which stems from the matzah, contains within himself the tchun of any matzah. It's a different word.
You have to see that within him.
What's the marshal line?
The etzem word is something which has a hesek is not emes.
But I'm saying over here is saying a different word. There's nothing in your mind.
Of course, a different word.
Why you bring my father?
The word that there's sheker, there's kozav, and there's emes. And azach, which yesh bei hefsek, is not emes. It's a different word. You can't say the word of Umnum over here. The way that I was saying it, mitzad matzah, they never exists. What does the Rebbe say here? The Rebbe says, Hagam shemitzah shalaylam b'chinat the matzah. It says, She'ina mitzah shabaylam b'ma b'chinat the matzah rishon. And what are you going to say? Not that, and why is he not emes? Because the any matzah has to be this almost nish zakter. That's not the Rebbe doesn't say this word. The beer here is not used on the fact that because his whole mitzvah is totally in heaven. That's not the beer here. The Rebbe brings helam der chagav. Elashi behelam. The whole beer in Ha'umnam is mused on the fact that the makar hanivra has to be bis amos. If you look at the Maimon Friedrich Rebbe said God Meir that since a mitzias, which is whole mitzias, only because his makar has to be quiet. If his makar is going to be himself at the very end, so that's a shvacha mitzias. Here we're saying a different word. Not that this amos, that's the reason for the fact that it's not amos. We're saying fakir that elashi behelam is fakir what the Rebbe wants to be madish. Shloime wants to be madish that in the matzah is the eni matzah. So there's in the nivra you have bittul mitzias and nivra. The fact that in davar yocheli matzis, that's a part of the ingredients of this havas and nivra.
How's it part of it?
That's what the Rebbe was saying before the Azak Chanan the word. It says, Mikimish kol mitzias elam rak mitzat Shiur b'chish l'chinas matzah rishon, aber mitzat esmutzi yisbarach, she betokfa gamato, that's the Adkosh. Ela she behelim. Not that because it's behelim, that's why it's in Yemes. So aber mitzat esmutzi yisbarach, which is betekef even in matzah, ein davar achar achal in matzahs. L'chem mitzat shel ha'elam, ein mitzias amitis.
So practically, what is this tchula of not being emes?
There's an akuda in the nivra, which is shayl that's mitzias. So,
Where do you see that? What?
before where you see that, you see that now. Huh? Yeah, it's the same way that any matzah right now is behelim in the matzah. So the aspect of the nivra which has an akuda sashlilas mitzias, is not nirgash. It's not nirgash begali. The matzah b'mitas Indian it's not a matzah. It's an any matzah which mitzad all the bertzeni is also a matzah. So al derech zeh, what type of nivra is created from it? A nivra which not that be'etzim doesn't exist. A nivra that it exists, but the nivra itself contains within itself this aspect that says that it doesn't have to exist. He negates the fact that it exists. The end of I'm saying attached. I'm saying the words the Rebbe says here is mitzad any matzah. There's bittul matzahs. End of and that's together with the matzah. It's not something else. It works together with the matzah. No, that doesn't have to get there. Shalei, no, you don't. Shlilas mitziyusef. There's an aspect in the nivra that undermines its own existence. Right now, the asid lavi bechat chruv. It's going to mean the chat chruv. The Rebbe touching here is not going to mean this gala. The Eibush will cancel the veld. The aspect in veld which is shaylas mitziyus, that nekuda will be in his gala.
Itself has this.
Yeah, has this tchuna. What I'm saying is, the Rebbe doesn't say this in before. I'm saying if you want it, the Chassidus says there's different, chalishas in the mitzvahs of Welt. There's efseidus in every nivra. Davar mukbal so is always atinik v'shnei at maschal is yavish. So we say because it's only going to last 120 years, so every minute that it's living, it's using out a little bit of his kechakim. The mainly is getting weaker and weaker. But the way that I was touching here, the chlishas of the nivra, it's not just technical. L'payal api klali aseichel, a davar mugbal is always heilich v'nechsar. But the way that I was touching it here is that the reason why the Metzias has in itself a tchuna of hefseidus or shlilas ha-Metzias, because that's the true condition of the Metzias. I'm saying the doesn't say this beer mufurish to this prat, but I'm saying you see lepayil atirik v'shnei maskal this yavish. So a person, together with the fact that since he's born he's growing every single second, he's also there's an akuda which is getting weaker and weaker every single second. Tinik v'shnei maskal this yavish. He was able to live 120 years when he was born, and I was only able to live less than 120 years. So there's his efseidus begins right away. However way we're going to understand. So it's not by HaRambam Chazim you're saying right now it exists and a year from now it's not going to exist. Here it's a mitzias that he doesn't only have an element of being, he has the element of taking away his kiyum. Baby's man that he exists. The pile the nekudas hashlila, the fact that there's a fseidus because we're not sensitive to it always. Yeah, a person gets tired, but the pile it's going to be in his gala one day, and then if it's mitzias. But it's a davar timidi by Metzias Mugbelis that he has in himself a nukud of shlilas Metzias. I'm saying why is that's the nukud of Metzias Ein Amitis? The fact that he exists, that's not inherent. It's not a Metzias Amitis. But etzem darfen sein. The any matzah which in the that's nirgash in the Metzias. What's inside any matzah? Is that bechaner sein as a zach? Und sie kennen sein as a zach. And Ava became the Eibishter wants it's yeah going to be. So what's nirgash in the mitzvahs in Nivra? Be'etzem the Soma has no legitimacy to be, and it's mufrach for it to be. Be'etzem is any matzah, and Ava Bekeni exists.
That's exactly what we say in Umm.
Huh? That's not what we say in Umm. Say in Umm, we say something else. Not Ava Bekeni. Umm is a different word.
Inside any matzah doesn't exist.
Huh?
It's still the chayim inside any matzah doesn't exist. You have a gili with any matzah which is in him. What should be the?
Then holding his bad. That's chat chulu.
So
The same.
now I'm saying.
Chat Chruv. That's going to be Chat Chruv. Not will be Nizgale Eni Motzi. Will be Nizgale the aspect of Eni Motzi of the Nivra.
So the question
Right now, what's dominant now is the Motzi aspect of the Nivra. And the Eni Motzi is Behelen. Jemand nicht das wird das Gale werden. Es wird das Gale werden, the Pchinas ha-Eni Motzi shnimmt dabei.
the answer to the Rebbe's answer is that the Eni Matzah didn't smell with actual take.
Yeah, but I'm saying
That's
no.
all I'm saying. The question is base.
No. You're saying
I know,
no.
it's-
There's one little knage different. That there's Eni Motzi misadatzman, and then there's the Eni Motzi. What I'm saying is there's the Eibush is Eni Hecher from Gedera Metzius. That's Hecher from Gedera. Then there is Eretz what Samson Zayin to Zayin Metzius. What's this Motzi? This Motzi b'pnimis is Eni Motzi. Understand? There's the Eni Motzi Kameshu misadatzman. And there's the Eni Motzi the way he is. All of it to be a Motzi. The Motzi is not another dark. It's the Eni Motzi. K'tzad Oliver Tzeni, the Eni Motzi is also a Motzi. So there's the Eni Motzi the way he is, the Pnimius of the Motzi. Let's say there's two darks in Eni Motzi. Eni Motzi Kameshu Mitzadatzme. There's Eni Motzi the way he is, the Pnimius of Motzi. Mitzad Tzimtzum.
That's a real. You saw the real thing.
Yeah, but the MS is, as I gedacht nachgucken, and I didn't. That's what he says there.
It says more. No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
One is all. Or 79. First thing is clear,
Same as that. What are you saying? What is it not like what I said? What is it not like what I said?
He explained before that the Milo in the fact that it's the beer Uma, the Gil the Maka. Milo is that
Which was
that's
that's
not even in Spanta. So he's saying the word
Okay,
that
look at
saying Animatzi is held here is that saying that's making that the fact that the Animatzi is down in the Bible is not an outside fact, it's coming within him.
I don't see what I said different. What did I say different than it says it?
I don't see what you said different, I don't see what you said here.
Whatever I says it over here. We can read it inside.
Yeah.
We'll learn it in a minute. We'll see what he said. He says a pashta zach. I mean, not pashta, nicht pashta, I'm saying. But they live fire. The kimish had to get up from the matzah zad legam ziyas ha'elim, chem hashem is kivim is samitis. It says, chore, kivan shem is savas ha'elim. Im chinas matzah rishon, any matzah, how's that meshana what the welt is? V'chein meizah, she need any matzah, yeshten gama b'chinat the matzah. The nimtza, zeshen, dan see, inside in yoni gufa. Yeah, what's your shaila on that? The matzah is not just the matzah is also any matzah. No. Yeah, Alpha Bekin is a mile in Om. Good, it's not chazak.
The whole work, it's the hamshich of the artist, what you say beforehand.
What I'm saying is, this piece, that's what I said before. I don't know, it's not that people verstehen nicht.
He has a whole, that we have the whole hamshich. How there's a mile each way, the other before.
Say that it's something else. I'm not saying there's no mile in Om.
No, but he's saying, it's in the reveal starting to say, why you have also, and he wants to say the mile of.
No, he's saying Alpha Bekin there's a mile in the mile over there. Every place of this has a mile. No, that's nicht gescheit. Ich sage nicht, that there's no mile there. No. Huh? Yeah. I'm not saying there's no mile there. What are we holding?
You're saying Chat Chruv is not a Chiddush.
Chat Chruv is going to be the zgale, the tchun of Shtilas HaMetzias that the Nivra Metzias himself contains.
It will come from the Nivra Chat.
Yeah. The Eni Matzi is a prat in the Matzi. It's nicht kein zweiter Sache. Huh? Wenn zem buvig am nigel wissen, dass die Bulls alles bei Elam schreiben, alles bei Elam Team ist gequert der beim beginnen der Matzi ist nicht mit Sabbat. Ist der Matzi kommt. Okay, ich war ist bei Elam Shloime Team bei Matzi ist mit Satz, mit Term schon kein was erzählen. Beim beginnen der Eni Matzi ist mit da in der Woche Rachel die Matzi ist. Das ist nicht so falsch. That's a whole different beer than Tevanes. We're saying a different beer. We're saying that the ein davar yacher achadimas and the mitzias is ein zach. What the Rebbe is saying is that what does halacha bring out? What are we saying? It's very hard to be mitzayer. The prat is the idiom, but I'm saying what the Rebbe is saying. What the Rebbe is saying is that hind there's a mitzias of a hand, and the mitzias of a hand is not kol inyani the kavan aliyah. Vazum al that there should be a hand, this hand the way it is today. But the hand's going to be an even that calling Yoni is a hand, the Maldis Ratzna. How's that shy? So the Rebbe says halachas reflects the truth of the Metzias. Because from the point of view of halachas is kela both pratim, begalim. The Metzias only represents the Matzi aspect. The truth is that the Metzias is nicht kematzi. Sa Matzi mit any Matzi zusammen. And halachas reflects that, represents that in. Es kommt zusammen. B'meile mitzad halachis, the Sidam Metzias, aber Eiser Ratzne Elin nicht like in Zach. What I'm saying is, like we're saying in the Nimsh, mitzad Matzi any Matzi l'mayla. What's the nirgash Matzi l'mayla? We're saying that since the Eibishter, if Oliver is saying he's also a Matzi. Mitzad be'etzem does the nivra contain within himself mitzias? The answer is no. If he wants, the nivra could also exist, and if he wants, he could take exist. When that emes is Meir, mitzad that darga matzi and any matzi work together, they're not a stir. Mitzad that darga, so the fact the nivra take exists, but kol mitzias is mitzad haratzim. You see what I'm saying? Mitzad matzi without any matzi, so then the fact mitzad the tzir of matzi, the yad has a tfisas makim. Mitzad, with the Eivish has got something, and to be a makkah for the mitzias, the yad has a mitzias. Masha enkin mitzad, dam bamitas inyin, what's nirgash in the darga of matzi? That the Eivish wants, can neichet zayin matzi. So the outside of his ratzin, there's no tfisas makim to the mitzias. Mitzad his ratzin for ana hamtag, but nor mitzad zayin ratzin. That's brought out in the eni matzi zeichet matzi. If the matzi if you say that there is a pashas in the Teva b'nei Adar, person has a keich haseichel. Mitzad keich haseichel, there's no tfisas makim to throwing stones. To zrika seven. He has another keich. He has a keich hazrika. Two different keiches. Then mitzad keich hazrika there is mitzvah. There was Dr. Chandish. The same etzem, the same eni matzi, which is not Eberville. He's not limited to be dafka eni matzi. If he wants, he can also be a matzi. If he wants, he can be a matzi tag. But why can he Valerville? So was kommt reise von Bishas das wird das Gale werden lassen, Lavi. You say there's a hand only because he wants. We're not saying there's no hand. There's a hand, but outside of Ratzna Elyon, the hand doesn't exist. You understand what I'm saying? Not keeping Shabbos, not Kfir Ratzin, in stuck in hand. But Kfir Ratzin, there's stuck a hand. I'm not saying there's no hand. And wann stammt es? Because you have the any, but it's not because in the matzi, if apes of nicht nirgash gewarnt der any matzi, then only mitzad the word of matzi is for ana hand, and a hand in yoni is a mitzis, not ratzna. Mitzad halacha is kelo both. That means halacha reflects the emes of the mitzis and nivra. What's the emes of the mitzis and nivra? As it existiert nicht. Darf nicht sein. And mitzad mitzis is a kinzat in the but if the Eibishter wants, he exists. And if the Eibishter wants his mitzvah, it's stuck here. It's a different word.
How does Ratzin come into what's in any mitzvah?
Huh?
How does Ratzin?
I'm saying, what's the word that mitzvah and any mitzvah work together? What's the pirush word? That the pshat is that the fact that the Eibishter is beyond mitzvahs, he's not limited to be dafke in a of ein davar. If he wants, he could also be misachas to mitzvahs. And that's what's nirgash in the Pchinas Matzi in Elokus. It's not by a nivra you say a person has two opposite keiches. You have a keich nail of seichel, and mitzat seichel not to smakim to throwing stones. And then you have a keich to throw stones. It's two separate keiches. A person could be in a mode of a hafshata. It could be a mode that he's involved in mitzvahs. Mashenkin in mitzad and mitzad arif, and there's like two separate inyan. Here we're saying something else. We're saying that the matzi is also any matzi. Means it's nirgash in throwing a stone that be'etzem darfen is nicht. Be'etzem it's garnished. But if he wants, he can also be that. As is nirgash. I'm saying the way it is in the dark of matzi in the makir, and that's the mitzvah samtziyas of the nivra. And I'm saying at the end of the day, does the nivra exist or the nivra doesn't exist? The answer is mitzad atzmai. He cannot be, and not only the Eibishter says that. That's in the nivra, in the tchunas hanivra. There's this aspect that be'etzim he can't exist. In the kudu it's a shell is mitzvahs. Lepayil does exist. What's the pshat? What's halach is megala the emes of this union, that the fact that the nivra exists is only mitzvah ratzon. You heard the word?
What's the pshat in the chacham?
The problem is not the pshat and the chacham. The problem is, I'm saying, Chassidus, you have this moshel when I get to the word to be that the must at the end of the day is that what's taka the pshat? that the Chacham could explain the Seichel even to a Talmud Namo, because he doesn't have the Seichel in Eifin of Akbal. Al derech the same word that we're saying here. You have one Eifin, the reason why you're able to relate the Seichel to Ish Katan is weil du hast zwei Seiten in sich. Du hast Eimek and by the Chacham, the word must be something else. He has Chachmen without Hakbalas. So Mele, he could relate it in any tzir, because he has the Mahos, the way it's beyond a certain specific tzir. So Mele mitzad the Rav, the Inyani of the Tzimtzum is because he has the Inyan on Hakbalas. But that's not the problem. The problem is the Rebbe sagt the zweite word. That's the Lashon the Rebbe says here. The Lashon the Rebbe says is what does he mean? The Rebbe is mashma stam azeh. Chacham God be Yisir shmadrigasi amitis achik deile who nimmt ze gam is word in kotten sheni mechikal. What does the Rebbe mean? Menetach is that he's going to give over Zainer Asvara. This is the word al derech what he says in derech mitzvah. An av which is mitzamtzim to play with a child, and he's marre and it says it's davar amiti, means the father not stammer. You have somebody, you're making a face as if you care about the games of the kid. Then it's stammer zeh davar chesed. You have another eifin is you're not making as if you care about his game. But Eisa Shah, he kaviyachol cares about who's going to win the chess game there, whatever it is. He takes cares. But of them sagt dort in der Sache that who atz me amatzamtzim. Whatever that means. I'm saying, what does that mean in the mashal there? That even in that matzah,
even in the curing, he's like.
What's over there? Chacham gadol. It's the stand from sein Chacham. I'm saying it's a different word over there.
Maybe
that's the same.
Saying that he sees in the game a death. His curing is coming from a different place.
It's not, but. שבבדרגוסי המיתס נמצא גם באיז דיבורי עם קוטן שאיני בערך כלל. So the fact that's also Heder Agvala in the Av. The Ebervil kann sich mit Sache sein zum Kind. I'm saying it's a different... The Pearl there in the Sech, he says it that who atzmi ha-mitzamtzim. The word that the Rebbe says here, steht dort in that word. He brings in the Gabi Sfiris, and he says there that it's who atzmi, but it's not clear what's the pshat. Like here the Rebbe is saying that it's mamash one inyan, it's not two separate inyan. No, it gives a very geschmack attach. This explains what the Rebbe means in the beginning. It's not. We're looking at it as if the Rebbe is presenting it in the Hadran. It's a motzi, in any motzi, a zakech, a tzveter kech. B'amitas inyan, it's halacha is the mitzias the way it is lamitase. The mitzias the way it is lamitase is. I'm saying I was saying in the beginning, it's wrong, Adar, that what's the issue of ayat today? Ayat, and the MS is the whole gather of ayat is echitim to the brandful. That's nicht richtig Adar. The Rebbe saying it is ayat exists. Val Ervil. Val Ervil, not because there's a because mitzamtzim when mitzad that darge the yad is a mitzvah. Mitzad the mitzvah, how you say. The way the fact that the Eibusha lowers himself down, when it comes to a mode of gvul, there's a mitzvah. There's no mode of gvul. The bli gvul, which is not mugbul netzira bli gvul, Ebervil is reichet gvul. So the gvul tak is faran, but not mitzad is ratzin. It doesn't exist at all. As Ervil, there's a hand. If the hand doesn't fear zachapitayra, then the hand doesn't exist. Wer sagt, the hand doesn't exist? The hand allein sagt das. Because in the mitzvah, it's nicht gemitzias, it's a mitzvah only because me will. Because the mitzvah is yesh behefsik. The mitzvah allein sagt as he has an akudas hashelo mitzvah. It's a very stark word. Good. Dafür ein bisschen scharfer machen, ein paar Praten. Okay, we have to, but we'll yeah. So the Gimel starts the next Nekuda. The Nekuda of Yisayt, you say this. Why it's a Yisayt? That's what starts in the... We have to sharpen some Pratim over here. Or there's a given Klorshin, I don't know what the... Okay.
The artist.
Yeah.
48 Nekuda is what you were saying. I mean, that's the beer nom, no?
Yeah, but the Rebbe touches up Mefurish that I'm saying that this has to be lepel's a different word to know. In the Umram, the reason for the chlishas hametzias of the nivra is because he comes from this almas hamakir. That's the word to know. Here, the adgasha is why is the nivra not emes? Because he demands his almas hamakir. Is that the word over here? So why is the nivra not emes? Because he's only here mitzad this almas hamakir. That's not the word over here. Because his makir contains within himself an akud of enemies, of built mitzvahs. That's what the Rebbe is saying. Another word was steht dort. In our Umram, the word is nicht that the chesed also says that you don't exist. Nicht that's the word. There the word is that the whole, as what gewend beginning was the geworden is. Wie bist du da, nar weil hat sich. So if your home mitzvahs is it because the emes is the hell and you're a schwache mitzvahs. Why do you exist? Because what's going on you don't know. You say someone, why do you don't realize what's happening. So the fact that you're in such a mode is because you're not aware of what's going on. So that's a very external being. The Rebbe says in Mufurish.
That's what he says.
No, I'm saying Mash'ink in here.
I'm saying the harder. That's the.
Good, I'm saying, but the tight shit, the mele, it's not. Then the enim mitzvahs and mitzvahs is not a tchuna. The nivra doesn't accept something from the dover hashevelu. Lechatchila is ein zach, sehr schwach, because he only comes beside the sounds.
So why can that be 48?
He doesn't touch the reis.
He doesn't say the tchon either.
No, but he large. I think the Rebbe is explaining here something else. So what's after onkommen das eini matze? Soll reden mit matze? So we went for the Rebbe, but that's not emes bittul.
That's not what you were saying the whole time.
No, I'm saying something else.
Okay.
No, sag a zweite Sache. I'm saying, what's the pshat? The nivra is not mitzvahs amitis. What's the pirush? One pshat is because the fact that it exists, you say, why? I say, this person is in a good mood. He's happy. He's happy because he doesn't know, he's unaware of what's really happening right now. His eyes are closed, he doesn't know that the Chveis meint, that the Chveis was, meint a gewisse Sache, it's nicht das. So is bemis zufrieden, weiß bekannt was tut sich. The minute he'll be aware of what's going on, he's going to become happy. Something like that. So you say, if man stammt the home mitzvahs and nivra, because his makker is hiding himself. If your whole legitimacy is because your makker is hiding yourself, that's schwache Sache. That's the word over there. Not that you derive something. The makker, the way it is begilo is shelo your mitzvahs. And your mitzvahs contains within itself something from Gilei HaMakkah. Nicht das the word. It's like verkehrt. Why are you saying that's true? Verkehrt. Your whole mitzvah stems from the fact that the makkah is bes almos. You don't derive something from the Gilei HaMakkah. No, here they're saying a different word. Not that the reason why the mitzvah is not a mitzvah is because the makkah is hiding, and the fact that your whole existence is because of something hiding. That's a shvachkeit. You're saying something else. Because you contain within yourself that aspect which the makkah says that you don't exist. Fakir, if the beer is, like, let's say the beer in the Umna would be, the reason why the river is not a mitzvah is because it doesn't only stem from his almos hamakir, kommt echet mitzad Gilei HaMakkah. That's not the word that says it with it. Then it would be like the Rebbe is saying here.
I know.
But you could also touch Jason Barna right?
No.
Could you also say in Animatsi? I know that's what I was saying.
That what?
Since the Animatsi is not bad, is bad. It's a home that it stands from the Animatsi being Mahal, and therefore, and it's a bintel, it's more tachat to the bintel, because it's from the Animatsi, not Matzi.
No, then it would, but it wouldn't be Neveh Mitzad.
The whole sprach, at least the Pimel is a Gili.
No, forget about Zevechem now. I could show you what's in Zevechem. I didn't look at it now, but Zevechem for sure doesn't say what you're saying.
The Gili from, is a Gili from Matzi or Gili from Animatzi? Oh, 48 and 50, right? If it was Gala. The Ibn is Gala.
No, that's in the brackets. I'm sorry.
Later on, the Rebbe says
Later on? Where's it say later on? Where does it say later on? Towards God.
48 is not. Why is that not a umrah? I don't understand.
The Hertish was